signed on so far, and I know we still have a few people logging in here. So welcome to August's COSA member webinar, and this month we are going to be covering the information that was shared in our annual meeting. So for those of you who were unable to come to Atlanta, or for those of you who missed some of our meetings, this will be your chance to get caught up. And Patricia Smith-Mansfield, the new COSA president, will be spearheading our webinar today, and so I'm going to turn it over to Tricia.
Hello. So I am Patricia Smith-Mansfield, the COSA president as instituted at the annual meeting. And today, as a wrap of our annual meeting and a review of the joint annual meeting with COSA and SAA, the first week of August, we had such a wonderful time in Atlanta. We wanted to relive it again today. Today's presenters, as noted on the slide, are Steve Murray, who's COSA treasurer, and will continue that position for us for another year. Jim Corridan from the advocacy meeting, and Sandy Treadway, the development committee, and Chelle Thomas from the program committee. Each will provide a report on the committee's activities for the past year. So today's agenda includes a summary of the work session and the business meetings that were held on Wednesday and Friday of that week. We'll give a review of the award recipients and end up with upcoming news and program updates. But today we'll begin first, if you go to the next slide, with Sandy Treadway, who will give us an update on COSA's case for sustainability. Okay, Sandy?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. The case for sustainability is an effort that was a joint project with the Development Committee and the Finance Committee of COSA, along with tremendous support from Ann Ackerson, because without her we would not have been able to do it. The purpose of this project was to step back and look at the organization, recognizing that it's reached a point at which it's appropriate to sort of say, you know, where have we come, where are we headed, where would we like to be 4 or 5 years from now, and what will it take in terms of human and fiscal and other resources to get us where we want to go. So the two committees working with Ann and also with check-in regularly with the COSA board developed a document to really project the resources it would take for COSA's long-term growth. We looked at financial, we looked at organizational structure and human resources to support it, and we looked at the activity and the mission-related efforts that COSA would like to be to grow or to enhance in the years to come, with the eye always being on what's going to get better value and more impact for all of COSA's members. The case for sustainability, we won't go into detail here, but there is a Ann, is there a copy? I believe there's a copy on Basecamp and on the website, but if not, we can make a copy available. We handed copies out to everyone at the work session and the business meeting at the COSA annual meeting. The reception for the report was extremely positive, extremely encouraging, and most COSA members really are ready to step up to make COSA be able to live up to its very ambitious goals and objectives. And our incoming president, who is now was that at the time and is now our president, Patricia Smith-Mansfield, then created a task force to carry that forward. And Tricia, would you like to say a few words about what you envision for the task force?
Certainly. So the task force was created at the meeting, and you can see the last bullet, the members who have agreed to be on the task force, and I want to say it's probably still not too late if you're interested in participating in this task force to let me know. So as a result of the case for sustainability and its findings, we created this task force to define the path forward for COSA, and the task force will focus on identifying those actions and efforts to provide the support and infrastructure required for COSA's mission-focused programs, especially to continue such progress we've made already through CIRI. So in essence, it will recommend to COSA and its members an organizational blueprint on the funding and staffing strategies necessary to achieve success. It will draw on the Case for Sustainability report and other COSA resources, such as work provided by the COSA committees through programming grants and other resources in order to develop those set of actions. The timeline that we've set out is beginning now, this fall, and the task force will meet monthly, and we set a meeting the first Tuesday of each month to continue through this next year with in mind that a draft will be presented in recommending the anticipated change or anticipated goals and actions for our spring, when the board meets together for its spring meeting in 2017. So it's fairly ambitious, but we're full of hope that we'll be able to have the blueprint that will support our mission-based programming and services for our membership. So if anyone is still interested in serving on the task force, please let me know. The next slide, if we go to the next slide, is about the business meeting. And one of the first actions we did is that we elected 3 new members to the COSA board. And they were Tim Baker of Maryland, who also was elected by the board to serve as president-elect. He was named state archivist of his state in 2013, and he has served on the Maryland State Archives as deputy archivist for more than 10 years. He also has served as COSA's representative to the COSA SAA annual meeting program committee, and in 2013 he and his archives hosted the COSA mid-year board meeting. David Carmichael from Pennsylvania is no stranger to the COSA board, having served already as its president in 2005 to 6. He has agreed to serve on the advocacy meeting, and he has developed and led a variety of COSA programmatic efforts over the years, and is author of Rescuing Family Records and Rescuing Business Records, which are available through the website. And then Lisa Spear from Arkansas in the Arkansas State Archives since 2013. Earlier this year, she navigated the archives transfer to the Department of Arkansas Heritage, and prior to that position, she was Special Collections Library for the Kent Library Special Collections and Archives. And Lisa serves on the COSA Program Committee for, she serves on the COSA Programming Committee. I'd also really like to thank our outgoing members, Sarah Kuntz from North Carolina, who worked hard on the series steering committee and nominating committee and served as its president. Sandy Treadway, who worked really very hard on the Case for Sustainability and steered as the chair of the development committee. And Mike Strom from Wyoming, who served on the finance committee and has also served as, he served as co-chair on the series steering committee. The COSA board really wants to extend its thanks and appreciation for the hard work and dedication of these members. So now let's turn our time to reports from some of our committees, and I'll turn the time over to Ann Ackerson for the Development Committee report and Chelle Somsen for the Education and Training Committee report, which formerly was the Program Committee. We've renamed it to Educating and Training Committee, which she will cover in her report.
Thank you, Tricia. This is Ann. Hi, everybody. I'm reporting today for Matt Blessing, who is the new chairman of the Development Committee. Remaining on the committee is our former chairman, Sandy Treadway, And serving along with her are Steve Excel from Washington State, Steve Murray from Alabama, and Julia Marks Young from Mississippi. Let me just say that the committee welcomes any member who would like to join its ranks to think about and work on fundraising for COSA. I'm pleased to report that the summer appeal has raised $3,090 to date, and that money is being divided at the donor's request between the Walsh Leadership Fund and General Operating Support. At the Atlanta meeting, our silent auction raised $990, and I just want to thank all the members who donated items for the auction. We wouldn't have an auction if members didn't donate great things for people to bid on. So thank you, everyone, for participating in that. While we were in Atlanta, the COSA board members met with our 4 corporate sponsors. Those are Ancestry, Family Search, Preservica, and Apex Software. And this is a tradition that we began about 3 years ago, where we sit down with each of our corporate sponsors and we talk a little bit about how the sponsorship has gone for them the previous year, what they would like to see in sponsorship for the coming year. We talk a little bit about some of the projects and programs that the corporation is working on. And so I'm happy to tell you that all of our 4 corporate sponsors remain interested and invested in COSA. We're working on agreements with them and expect to have agreements in place before the end of this year with Ancestry, Family Search, and Apex. We've already got an agreement in place with Preservica, and that's a bit of news to share with you all today, and that is that Preservica and COSA are once again teaming up together to offer a series of practical digital preservation webinars, which will begin this October, and they'll run through next June. The CIRI Education Subcommittee is currently working with Preservica representatives to finalize the schedule and to really nail down the topics for those webinars, and we think it's going to be a great series. And the committee is also identifying additional corporate sponsors for 2017, which is an ongoing activity. We're continually in prospect mode. So again, I ask those of you on the line today, if you have corporations in mind that you think might be interested in supporting COSA activities, to please let Matt Blessing or me know, and our committee can take it up and follow up with them as appropriate. So I think that concludes the Development Committee report, and I'm going to turn things over next to Chelle Somsen and Education and Training Committee. Chelle?
Hi. Well, the Education and Training Committee has been busy. As Tricia just mentioned, we are now the Education and Training Committee. We used to be the Program Committee, but we have a name change. And we've been working on a couple of different things that I'm going to let you know about. We're going to be keeping the monthly themed webinars, such as the one that we're having today, but we're also going to augment those with what we're calling learning labs, and those are going to be more detailed conference call formats for a more in-depth look at what we're kind of referring to as nuts and bolts topics or issues, and these learning labs are going to be aimed primarily at archives staff as a way to help educate and train our staff. Another thing that we're working on is facilitating and coordinating more with the CIRI Education Committee to increase communication. So members of the CIRI Committee will be attending some of the programming or Education and Training Committee meetings and vice versa, just to increase and enhance our communication between the 2 different groups that are both offering education. And lastly, we're going to be creating a COSA on Demand feature that will also be in a conference call format, and that's aimed specifically at state archivists on an as-needed basis. And the point of that is to address issues or needs as they arise and to increase communication between state archivists and get feedback from each other in a more timely manner. So we have the monthly webinars, the learning labs, the COSA on-demand feature, plus we also have all of the listserv and the blog and the Facebook, so there's plenty of ways to stay informed about COSA and all of the activities that we have going on. And I think that's all I have to report on that, so just keep and stay in touch. We'll have more on this as these new learning labs get developed. I think is Steve up next.
Good afternoon, everyone. Wanted to give you a quick summary of the financial report that we provided during the business meeting in Atlanta. And there's two slides we'll look at today. The first is showing you our assets. These are comparative numbers for the end of the year for 2014 and 2015. These are final audited numbers as provided by our CPAs. And what you can see in these two sets of figures as you look at 2014 and next to 15 is in 2014 we were very much in an active role in a couple of our large IMLS funded grants, and by the end of 2015 we were starting to wrap those up, and so our cash on hand was a little bit lower, and our grant receivables were also starting to wind down as we came to the end of those grants. Given this total assets at the bottom of that slide of $229,000. If we'll go on to the next slide, this is showing you our liabilities and total net assets. Kind of the main point to look at here is at the lower right-hand quadrant of that chart. Under our unrestricted net assets, we've got about $135,000 in operating assets and $81,000 and some change in our board-designated funds. The two funds that make up that board-designated number are our awards funds and our reserve fund. The combined number of that $81,000 plus another $17,000 or so comprise the corpus of our investment account that we opened in 2015. This is a managed account that's put into mutual funds. The finance committee, which I should mention also includes Jack Warner from Massachusetts and Eric Emerson from South Carolina, monitors this in conjunction with Ann on a monthly basis, and we have annual reviews with our account manager. We opened that account in mid-2015 when the market was going into a bit of a slump, so we got down into the mid-90,000s value for that account late last year, but it is back up to just under $100,000, which is the amount that we put into the account when we opened it in mid-2015. So that investment account is on a good track, and we look forward to hopefully seeing some positive growth in that as we move ahead. That decision was made just so that we could begin to realize some growth in COSA's assets instead of all of that money just sitting in cash. That's a quick snapshot of our finances, and I will hand it back over to our next speaker.
This is Jim Corridan speaking, and I'm going to be talking about the Advocacy Committee report. The few things that we reported on at the annual meeting included congressional visits that we held in March of 2016. A large contingent of us went and visited with Jason Chaffetz, who's the chair of the Oversight Committee, which has direct oversight over the National Archives and the NHPRC. We met with his chief of staff, and thanks to both Steve Murray and Patricia, Steve knew or had friends who knew the chief of staffs for Chaffetz, and that was a great connection. And Tricia, of course, is from Utah, where Congressman Chaffetz is from. So they joined Sarah, Barbara, and I think it was the five of us who was in there, and we began a relationship and a conversation with him about how to fix some things or move things forward for the state archives community, and they seemed very receptive, which is remarkable. We also spent time with a number of other delegates in Congress and on both sides Congressman Barr and his office have been extremely helpful. Congressman Barr serves on the NHPRC as one of the 2 representatives from Congress. The other one is Senator, oh my goodness, his name's skipping my head. He's the senator, the junior senator from Alaska, and Sullivan, and we met with his chief of staff also. So it was a very meaningful conversation. One of the big benefits this year is that we actually, for the first time, maybe ever, saw the House Ways and Means Committee increase funding, or the House Appropriations Committee, actually, I think it is, increased funding by $1 million for NHPRC. So moving off of the $5 million and getting it up to $6 million, which is a really positive sign. And it's always in the past been the House that has zeroed out NHPRC. So just to reiterate, we think we're making huge strides here. So that's really positive. The bad side of that conversation is that we will find ourselves again in a continuing resolution situation, and so there really won't be any change. We'll stay at $5 million, but we think we've set the framework for future potential increases down the road. The Archives, or the Advocacy Committee, also authored a document called Developing and Maintaining a Strong State Archives, which is kind of almost minimum criteria for what a state archives should consist of. Deals with things like facilities, appropriate legislation, mandates, and policies that we should be operating under, making sure we have professional expertise in preservation and management of all state government records, and also sufficient human and fiscal resources to support the archives mission. And that document's now online. If you go to the Advocacy tab on COSA's website, you can find it there. And the committee was asked to flesh out parts of that, including specifically facilities, so that as the 10 or so state archives that are working on building new buildings, they can look at what some of the expectations are for a facility to be a proper facility in 2016 and beyond. So there's ongoing work on that area. The Council of State Archivists joined the board of the National Coalition for History, which is linking us up with most of the major historical organizations in the United States, and it's a very interesting organization to participate in. They've already tried to help us in a couple different ways with archival issues, and so we think that may be a fruitful membership to continue to have. And then lastly, we are working, as always, with the Joint Task Force on Issues and Awareness, and so that group issued a joint statement on conducting public business in non-government email accounts, which is kind of a Hillary Clinton response, suggesting that's not an appropriate way to handle things. And then the second issue is the statement on access to state and local records, making clear that we believe that no matter what repository something may be sitting in, if it isn't the state archives, there should still be provided access based on the laws of that state or territory. And so those are some of the things we've been working on, and of course we will continue to be very active in moving the advocacy agenda for COSA and the Archives Committee forward. And with that, I'll turn it over to the next speaker.
Okay, thank you, Jim, and others for your reports. So at the meeting, we also presented our annual awards and this year's recipients. You can see on the slide there, these were some of them presented in the plenary session by past President Matt Blessing. The awards, the first award was the Victoria Irons Walsh Leadership Award, and it was presented to Kathleen Rowe of New York. And Kathleen is the epitome of what the Victoria Irons Walsh Leadership Award represents. Her 40-year career at the New York State Archives, her involvement in the Council of State Archivists for many years, the National Association of Government Archives and Records Administrators, and the Society of American Archivists, and her leadership in the advocacy for in the archival profession made her an excellent candidate for the Walsh Award. The COSA NHPRC Schrabb Award of Merit was presented to Oklahoma State Historic Records Advisory Board, or the OHAP. I guess I don't know how to say that. Anyway, in 2015, the Oklahoma Historical Records Advisory Board supported a variety of activities designed to help Oklahoma historical records repositories in libraries, archives, and museums save records, provide access to them, and let people know that they are available. The Rising Star Award, which is presented to the up-and-coming within the profession was presented to the Massachusetts Archives Simmons College and the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners for their collaboration on the Massachusetts Municipal Clerks Archival Education Program. And we got a glimpse of this program at the annual meeting. So responding to a need across their state, and the partners pursued and received multi-year funding from the NHPRC to develop and implement training for municipal and county clerks in preserving the archival records in their care, providing a facilitated hands-on with records of their own type of the institutions which held them. They were able to provide a 2-year course in the basic of archival care for their records. The partners are now looking to package these presentations up and provide them on to institutions throughout the state for their own use and repackaging. So finally, I think we have questions and answers if there are anybody who would like to ask a question. And I'd like to open it up not just to questions that you may have of today's presentation, but of anything about the Council of State Archivists, about any of the programs we may be doing, about issues or questions that you have in the back of the mind that you would like to ask. Are there any? Okay, I'm going to give people time. Think of a chat, put it in. Okay, I don't see any questions. Rebecca, is there any questions that you see?
I don't see any either, but if they come in while we finish up, we'll be sure to send them on to you.
Okay, good. So at this time, I would like to thank everybody who participated in today's presentation. I'm going to turn the time over to Ann to give us the new and upcoming, those things that are coming your way, but also, again, to put an invitation to everybody online and all members to participate in the programs. Also, I would like to remind people that while I gave a summary of the awards, I forgot to mention that please submit worthy candidates for these awards when you receive notification in the next little while. So, Ann, we'll turn the time over to you.
Thanks, Tricia. And I have the good fortune of talking about 2 new and upcoming programs. Neither is really new, but they're to you, but they're upcoming. And the first is the 2016-2017 ARM survey. We mentioned this a bit in Atlanta. I just wanted to give you a few more of the particulars and sort of preview what you can expect. There was a task force put together of John Dugan, Jelaine Shub, and Sandy Treadway, who worked diligently over, I think, the course of 5 meetings or so to really evaluate the current survey, to think about how we might streamline it, add in some new information, take out some old information. And so the survey that you will see, which will, the link will be emailed to everyone after Labor Day, is a survey that won't look too different from the past, although some sections have been rearranged, and there will be some new questions. So to help you kind of get through that, we staff are preparing a webinar that will take place by mid-September to just walk people through the survey, answer any questions that you might have. As in past years, there will be a set of instructions, written instructions, that will be mailed out with the survey link. And new this year is everyone will get a copy of their responses from the survey last time, so that you'll be able to immediately go back and take a look at what you submitted before and revise any of that information. So we're really trying to make it as easy a process. We know it's a long survey and it takes a lot of time and effort, but we think that what comes out of it is really useful information. The deadline for data submission this year is going to be November 23rd, which is right before Thanksgiving. We thought that might be an incentive for people to get it done. And our plan is to release the report in early 2017. So more to come on launch date and a webinar that will walk through the survey. And then next up is Best Practices Exchange, which is coming up November 1 through 3 in Sacramento. Maybe some of you have already signed up for that. The registration is open. They are accepting session proposals with a deadline of September 15th, and there's the email address to which you can email proposals. All the information is located on the BPE Exchange Facebook page, and we've provided a link here, but certainly if you just Google BPE 2016, you'll go right to that Facebook page. I want to just give you a little tease right now and tell you that you will soon be hearing a little bit about a limited number of series scholarships for BPE this year. This is money that has been freed up within the last 24 hours, basically, from our current SERI grant. So the SERI Education Subcommittee is going to be getting together an email to the membership to talk a little bit more about how to apply for that funding. As I said, it will be a limited number of scholarships, but we feel that BPE is a real important part of ongoing digital preservation and electronic records management training, and it's something that I know many, many of our members have really enjoyed participation in and learned a great deal about. So those are my two things. I'm going to turn it back to Danya to give you some a preview of upcoming webinars. Danya?
Okay, thank you, Anne. So next month in September, we will be having our second of our SHRAB Town Halls. And of course, Kathleen and Dan will be sharing what has been going on at NHPRC, but we're also going to be highlighting our SHRAB Award of Merit winner from Oklahoma. So be sure to chime in and see what Oklahoma's SHRAB has been doing. October, we're going to be talking about collaborative History Day projects to get you all ready for History Day next year. And I saw a chat from Veronica that I did forget to put in eRecords Day. And she wanted to point out that eRecords Day falls on Columbus Day this year. So for those of you who are closed on Columbus Day, you may do events on 10/11 also. It's not quite 10/10 Day, but it's close enough. And as Anne mentioned earlier, we will be having a new series of COSA Preservica Practical Digital Preservation webinars. So watch out for when those will be occurring. And as always, each year COSA's corporate partnerships provide critical funding support for many COSA membership activities and events. We are especially grateful to Ancestry and our other corporate sponsors featured here: Family Search, Preservica, Gaylord Archival, and Apex Software. Support for COSA's program initiatives is also generously provided by grants from NHPRC and IMLS. So don't forget, we always do appreciate your feedback. And as you exit the webinar, you will be automatically taken to a COSA online webinar evaluation. It is from these evaluations that we find out what is most important for you and how we plan our upcoming webinar series for the next year. So please take some time to fill that out. It really does help us. And as always, please stay connected with us at the website, the Facebook page, the blog, and Twitter. And keep an eye out for more information on all of the new and exciting events coming out of the Education and Training Program. Thank you very much for joining us today. Did we get a question in?
Yep. One question came into the Q&A. Just what is the ARM survey? Does anybody want to explain a little bit more about that?
Anne, can you give us more about that?
Sure, and I'm sorry for using the acronym. ARM stands for Archives and Records Management Centers. So this is a biennial survey that COSA has been doing, gosh, I think for at least a decade, maybe a little longer now. And it is a thorough survey that attempts to track the growth of collections, the changes in operations of archives and records management centers. It looks at issues. It asks members to talk about the challenges that they're facing. This year we're going to track job titles and try and do a little tracking of salaries more than we have in the past. I should say salary ranges, not specific salaries, as we have in the past. So it's a fairly comprehensive survey, and we've been doing it long enough so that we can really, we've amassed enough longitudinal data to really begin to take sort of a long view analysis of the health and well-being of state and territory archives and what the challenges are on the horizon, and it allows us to kind of think about future programming, training efforts. Advocacy certainly is a piece of all of that. So that in a nutshell is what the ARM survey is about. You can access the last ARM survey, or the most recent one, on the website under reports and surveys, something like that, under that tab. So take a look at it, and I think you'll be amazed at the information you'll find there.
Okay, thank you, Anne. I don't think anything else came in. So does anyone have any last comments from our presenters?
I'd just like to thank everyone for participating today and everyone for listening in, and we'll see you next month.
All right, thank you, Tricia, and thank all of you for joining us today.
Thank you.